MediaCorp was the one producing Chinese drama. And during the 90s, 80s and 90s, China was watching MediaCorp dramas. If you really love this job and you want to do it, you should strive to become the signature dish of the restaurant. We have experienced directors who says, I want this, and then you go like, what?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, yeah!
I want to ask you about what do you think is the current state of television and entertainment in Singapore?
When you and I were doing, when you came in,
Mm-hmm.
I would say MediaCorp is really at the golden age, or right in the middle of the golden age. It was peaking.
Mm-hmm.
The genre of the shows that we were doing, the budgets that we were allocating, and the resources and the story writing that we allocate to these shows, I feel much more efficient and better than and the people guiding it, right, knew what to do to make it a good production. I'm not saying that people now don't know how to make it a good production.
Okay.
We are also lucky because we came in a time where social media, online platforms, streaming platforms did not exist. So people really still have to go home, sit in front of the TV and wait for the and watch the program, right? If you miss it, you miss it, right? So people actually make the effort. And that time, because of this, advertising dollars were much easier to make, much more. You'll pay 100 over 6 figures for a 30-second slots or a few 30-second slots.
Yeah.
So the money was much better. The funding is always there from the government. But I think in terms of revenue model and the opportunity to monetize all the content were much better, right? So in that sense, I think we also focus on what we could do well. Now, because it's a very difficult situation for Singapore because of all the competition that's coming. In the past,
competition would say like probably would it be social media, online streaming platforms, let's say like Netflix or Apple. I guess also could you say even other countries too? People watching other productions from Thailand, Korea, 中国, everywhere else too.
And during our time, right, if you talk about Asian content, I mean, let's not talk about Bollywood. That's a different story.
Okay.
Japanese content is another story. And if you talk about Chinese dramas, Oriental drama, of course, Hong Kong has has permeated throughout the world with the TVB dramas and stuff.
Yeah.
But in terms of Asian content, at that time, MediaCorp was the one producing Chinese drama.
Yes.
Right? And during the 90s, 80s and 90s, China was watching MediaCorp dramas. And people like, actually, Chen Yanwen Dage was super famous. He did the Heshang, Kung Fu Heshang thing.
Yeah.
He was super famous. And some of our older generations like Su Cheng Dage, etc. They were famous in China.
Yeah.
And I think the part where we kind of like got a bit lost was, I'll be frank here, right, was when SPH came up with MediaWorks, right? For whatever reason, I heard there are some conspiracy theory of WTO qualification, etc. But I might be wrong. That then we have the competition between MediaCorp and MediaWorks.
MediaWorks.
Right. So everybody was competing, but I'm happy because I personally benefited from this. With competition, then our income increased. We could negotiate better. Multiple times when I renegotiated my contracts, MediaCorp knew that MediaWorks were trying to pull me over, right? So I could negotiate what I wanted. So it was beneficial for me, but I think for the industry as a whole, it was detrimental.
It's funny because when you say that, I actually came to Singapore right when MediaWorks was starting up. So I was on the verge of signing with MediaWorks, and I was trying to understand the whole lay of the land here in Singapore. They said, MediaCorp's established. They have, Tay Ping Hui, they have Li Nanxing, they have Li Mingsun. MediaWorks has no new lead guy. So just like you said, I used MediaWorks to counter off with MediaCorp, but that's what I did. In the end, I decided to work with MediaCorp too. That was obviously the best decision ever. But from your side, how did having MediaWorks, I think, not make it work out so well with MediaCorp in terms of just like, let's say, local competition?
I think for the content, for the artist itself, is good.
It's good, right? Yeah.
Right.
Competition.
Because then they really have to pay dollars for what they think your value is.
Yes, okay.
In the past,
It was a monopoly.
yes.
It's like, you don't want it, forget it, that's fine. But now it's
Right.
like, you don't want it, oh, they want you, oh, I
Correct.
better now pay what you want.
During that time, if you look at the media, for example, like print, you have media, right? TV, movies, music, and print. All of these are controlled by the two main companies, SPH and MediaCorp.
Yes.
Right? So, for example, like an individual person out there who has a lot of talent, but they want to showcase the talent, there is no way to showcase unless you're through these channels or these platforms. But now it's different because everyone can set up a YouTube channel, an IG, or whatever, TikTok.
Their own podcast?
And showcase, right. So that time, content was very much controlled by the big boys.
Yes.
So then when competition came in, I have to fight for talent. So for us, for
Yes.
talent is good.
Yeah.
Right? Because I could say, double my pay. Or
Yeah.
I go, right? And they will, they pay, right?
will.
So, but for the content itself, what
Yes.
they did was, I think the content became smaller. It became more localized. Family dramas, really small scale. MediaWorks had collaborations with China.
Okay.
They did all the guzhang and stuff. But, it's different because you're working content with someone who is much bigger at that time, and then you have only had one or two artists in that project. It doesn't work that way. So you realize that during that time, there were a lot of small little family dramas, small little stories that are very local based.
Yep.
I think they were going from the angle to get people to watch it.
Yeah.
But I felt during that time, content went down. I feel, this is my personal opinion.
Yeah,
I might
of course.
be wrong. Kind of went down.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it became smaller, and smaller, and the storylines were repetitive. Because 我爱他，他喜欢他，他不喜欢我。
Love triangle,
他跟我的 it's always like
all
that.
the same thing.
Yeah,
Always the
it's
same
pretty
thing.
much the same.
That's what I want to ask you. I think. Do you think if let's say you were in charge of MediaCorp now, and it was your job to try and it's a huge task to try and revamp and try and revive the former glory what MediaCorp did, what would you do?
I mean, we are in a particularly advantageous position because a lot of people think Singapore, Malaysia, etc., Nanyang, right? Singapore actually has such a rich history. We were a British colony, right? And then we were occupied by the Japanese.
Yeah.
We have the insurrection. We have the times of the communists versus the racial riots. We have a long history of many things happening in Singapore. And I think, for example, right now, from what I know, they're doing Little Nyonya Part 2.
Yes, yeah,
right?
Hill, yeah.
What MediaCorp should do, if I'm in charge,
Yep.
which will never happen, right, is we
Never say
should
never.
focus on our strength.
Okay.
Our strength is not to compete with all the rest of the very generic love stories out there.
Yeah.
But we have a very specific, a very interesting part of our history where we can focus a lot of stories.
Who am I doing? Yeah, on ourselves that no one else
Yeah,
has.
like you did.
The proprietary thing.
What do you do? 河水山.
河水山, yeah.
河水山, right?
Or the other one like
Chulu, I
yeah,
did.
Chulu, yeah, exactly.
And
Those did so well.
Right.
Like mini guzhuangs, like not way back like the Qing dynasty, but that just kind of showcases
Yeah.
the history of Singapore.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you, I think though too.
maybe this kind of stories might not be
Resonate.
mainstream.
Uh-huh.
But I think if you can interweave modern stories into that time, use that historical backing and the sets and the buildings, it's so beautiful. I mean, the old buildings are so beautiful.
Yeah.
The mise-en-scène itself, if you actually just set it up.
Is that why Little Nyonya did so well though too?
I think there's a lot of curiosity on what's the Baba culture is about, the Peranakan culture. For those who do not know, it's actually quite confusing, right? How the Peranakans came to be. When Cheng Ho came down, 郑和下西洋,
Yeah.
right? Along the way, when he stopped along the way, a lot of his men actually dropped off and they started staying at those locations in Malaysia. For example, like Penang, especially Malacca, and then they intermarried with the local Malay women
Yep.
and they adopted the culture. So it's actually a very, very interesting culture, confusing to some, but it's actually quite interesting and it's actually very, very steeped in history.
Yeah, a lot.
So I think Little Nyonya came and everyone was like, wow, a breath of fresh air.
Yeah,
like,
something new.
Something different. And the kabaya is beautiful. And for Little Nyonya 1, they really put in a lot of effort in terms of costume designs, the art direction,
Yeah.
the set, you know. You realize the storyline is the same. It's a family drama, love drama. I love you, you don't love me, you love him. It's actually the same, but it worked.
It worked. It's just how it worked, yeah.
Of how these very fundamental stories are framed, are put. You know, so we should focus on that. You know, that period of time where Singapore was not so clean, not so clinical, maybe not so successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, when it comes to, let's say, MDA, when it comes to all the regulatory measures, through the years, obviously we've done so many Chinese dramas, there's certain taboo topics we can't talk about. You know, let's say homosexuality or rape, you know, or or incest.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a huge disadvantage for Singapore television too, because you have Thailand, Korea, they're going all into those subjects, and then here we are. It's like you're not competing. It's like us playing basketball, and then you're not wearing basketball shoes or something though too, trying to play barefoot.
I don't need to wear basketball shoes to play with you.
Oh shit! Oh really? Oh, it's on, baby.
I'm kidding.
But you know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
You know, I think everything starts with a script. But if you're writing this script, writing this content, and you can't talk about these subjects that are very, very, I think, provocative or very interesting, then you're already at a disadvantage. What do you think?
You see, this is where I have to humbly disagree with you.
Okay, please.
Right,
please.
because in China,
Okay.
you cannot talk about ghosts. You know, you can't talk about like people dying and then the Pontianak and stuff like that, right? You cannot have drugs. You cannot have homosexuality on TV.
Yeah.
You cannot have, like you said, incest
Yeah.
or
All these
immoral kind of activity.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Police cannot be corrupted. If they are, at the end, they have to be brought to justice. So if you talk about limitations, actually, for example, China has more limitations than us.
That is true. That is true.
Right.
But
But they're so successful, right?
And so how are they able to work within this infrastructure?
My experience
Yeah.
in the past is, 这样啊，过不了啊，过不了啊。So they'll look at something and they say, oh, no, it's not going to be allowed because it's a family drama, whatever. But hell, man, just read the news. Family dramas are way more dramatic than a lot of dramas. I remember this incident, if I may share. Many years ago, I was tasked to write and direct a short film, which is supposed to be a scissor reel, right? For a longer drama.
Okay.
So I actually have a concept on how a drama could be edited and how the audience, very interactive. That was before the proliferation of social media and stuff, right? That how audiences can be very interactive with the development of the story. So you can go online and you choose the development of the story. It's like Black Mirror.
Yep. Oh, I love
Right?
Black Mirror.
Yeah,
Yep.
you choose, right?
Yeah. The interactive thing.
I proposed that before Black Mirror.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So what happened was that supposed to do a scissor reel, and it's available on YouTube. I asked Tay Ping Hui to be the other guy.
Okay.
So I was in different versions of the story, right? So in one version, I was the son of a triad boss, reluctantly lah. So he died, and I had to take over. I'm best friends with Tay Ping Hui.
Okay.
And he's a cop. His father was killed by the triad, so he hates the triads, right? And of course, he has an undercover guy. And the undercover guy fell in love with one of one of my female gang members and stuff like that. The story develops to a finale where we have a showdown with each other lah. So the showdown was, he as a cop actually walks into the hall, and I was sitting at the hall. I was the boss head lah. And I wanted to write where I was smoking a cigarette, right? So the shot is like that. He walks in, he sees me, side shot, lights up, I draw, and I exhale. Cannot.
Cannot. I know.
Right?
No way.
So being me, right, I actually went through all the manuals and all the websites of SFC, Singapore Film Commission, IMD, etc., etc. And I said, guys, they didn't say it's not allowed.
Doesn't explicitly say it all.
Right, not allowed. Simple thing, right? I'm always fascinated by smoking in shows because I think visually is extremely stunning. So then what happens is I smoke. And then the next thing, it cuts. Then there's a subtitle that said, what if things are different? Indicating that the audience can make a choice. And then the next scene is that Ge Ping Dao Ge was sitting in the chair. He's the bad guy. He's the corrupted cop instead of the good cop. And I'm coming in as the righteous guy. So it's flipped. The lines are the same, everything is the same, right? So just flip lah. So then, and also one where, as a triad son, my father in the show passed away. So I had to be initiated into the gang, right? So I had a shot where it's flooded with red, the camera comes down, and in front, supposed to be a gang initiation, and I'm holding the joysticks, and all gang members were behind. It was a huge, nice big shot, and I had some real gang members, so I was quite scared of them, right? So, and then, go through the ceremony, which I know how it goes, not allowed. Because we don't want to glorify gang activities.
No, exactly. Another.
So in the end, the shot was like that. I only had 3 joysticks in front of the shot and just did a bow. So I think visually, if we do not submit ourselves to self-censorship so much, I think we will be able to push the envelope a bit more. And I think we'll come up with more interesting stories that way. If I were in a position to make decisions, I would say, let's push the envelope. Let's create content where people will be like, oh, wow. Not have controversy for the sake of controversy, but push.
For, I think, any aspiring young individual, who wants to enter this industry, what advice could you give to them?
For any aspiring actors or actresses, I would say follow your dreams. If you really want to do it, do it. Then that's the conclusion, you're going to do it. But then the next question will be the how.
Yeah, the reality of it, the practicality of it.
Right. I think if you want to, you should do it. So whether it's practical or not, just do it, follow your dreams. Because I never wanted to be an actor, but look where I am now. Right?
Yeah. I think for a lot of people, they don't have that type of, I wouldn't say privilege, but that type of a luck, or even I say fortune, But even then, it doesn't separate you. You still have to work hard to become who you are, though, too.
I think, luck, fate, whatever you want to call it, only opens the door to the room, What you do after you enter the room is another different story.
Yeah.
I always tell the younger generation this, right? You can come up, right? If you have enough exposure, the company sees some potential in you, you go viral for a while, you become the dish of the month, right? But I think if you really love this job and you want to do it, you should strive to become the signature dish of the restaurant. It's easy to be the dish of the month.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's the seasoned ingredients, or cod fish is in season, and then you go omakase, this is what you get. But every restaurant, good restaurant, have a signature dish, and you want to become that signature dish, and that takes a lot of training, that takes a lot of experimentation.
A lot of fortitude. I think what people fail to realize is people say I retired from acting. It's like, you don't retire from acting retires from you. Because in our industry, I think it's very, very reactive and not proactive. It's very Beidong, right? You don't say, I want to take this lead role, I want to do this project. It's like, you have to audition, you have to fight and grind your way through it, though, too.
Well, I think with the, like you said, proliferation of platforms right now available, if you want to be an actor and nobody gives you a chance, create your own content. That's the thing.
On social media.
On social media, on YouTube, because I can see a lot of websites where people create their own content, and they're really good content.
They're really good.
Really good content. And don't just keep thinking about it, do it, right? So if you aspire to be an actor, look out for all the opportunities where to get yourself out there, expose yourself. Write stories which you think you can excel at as an actor. And then do the kind of content where, for example, casting director will be scrolling and they go, hey, wait a minute, interesting, right? So if you want to be an actress or actor, go for it, whether practicality or not, right? Practicality aside, go for your dreams. At least if you fail, you've tried. You won't be wondering, oh no, what if? would have, could have, should have, but give yourself a timeline, for example, a couple of years if you're young enough. If you don't make it, then do something else, right?
How important do you think social media is, let's say? For
I think it's very important.
very important now.
Very important.
Creating-
Because that's where most casting directors, that's the first point of contact. They will go to your social media and they'll check. Of course, they will discount all the filters, right? But I think that would be the first point of contact for many casting people, right? So then you need to, I don't think you need to do everything. You just need to have one really good one, whether it's IG or TikTok, whatever it might be. Yeah. So in that sense, get yourself out there, make yourself be known. But most importantly, I think, educate yourself. Don't think that your face and showing skin will get you
all the way through.
all the way through to become
Casted.
a respectable actress. If you're the type that show a lot of skin, you'll only be casted in one kind of role. Yeah, so that you want to be as versatile as possible. For me, creating a character and preparation, 做功课,
对啊，对对对。
for me is actually 90% intellectual and objective. The performance is the last 10% for me. For me. Different people have different approaches. For me, is reading the script, analyzing the script, creating it is a very intellectual and objective process and technical process. So then learn everything you can about life, about acting, about speech, about people. Yeah.
I think what I learned from you today too is I think no role is too small. Here you have someone who's done so much work here in Asia, in Singapore, and in China, and here you are about to take on this role, probably your first role as a calefare, as an extra.
Yeah.
That's a huge lesson. People think, oh, don't ever think because I'm new or because this role's crap or something. I've had friends of mine that would reject roles. You know them too. I'm not going to say their names, or they just think the role's not good enough for them. But for me, it's always been like, if there's an opportunity to learn from there too. If not the role itself, being there on set, working with the crew, with the director, with the casting director, with the production, with the PA, with the grips, with other actors, you might meet someone that sees something in you too. So I think one advice I would give is just, if the opportunity comes, take advantage of everything.
But do not let people exploit you.
Yes.
Because there are many organizations that will exploit you. They say, oh, we can only pay like this much. Unless you're willing to take it, it's okay. Like for me, the advantage that I have right now is that I can really choose what I want to do. I'm not at the stage where I have to take this job.
Yeah.
Or I need the money.
You've paid your dues.
Yeah, I paid my dues. I've done my work, and it's not like, oh no, my next month's paycheck, I need to make this amount of money to survive. When I feel that I don't want to do it anymore, the day that I don't feel like doing it, I will not do it. I will just leave. Really leave. I'm okay. My background and training as an actor really enhances, really benefited my directing.
Absolutely.
Because we have experienced directors who says, I want this, and then you go like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Exactly.
Because it's very airy-fairy.
All the shot selection, all the just the choices they make, like they have no idea.
Yeah.
The whistles when they have no idea what they want, they're just shooting all the same stuff. And that was just like,
right. And more importantly, when they try and tell actors like, I want you to do this. But after they describe the emotional journey, you're like,
yeah.
What? You don't understand, right? So I think being an actor, or my experience has, allowed me to be able to communicate with my actors in the language that would resonate both, right? In the frequency that they would understand, in the frequency that they're able to absorb on the spot. And because I'm speaking the language, it doesn't look like I'm telling them what to do. It's collaborative. It's a collaborative relationship.
Effort, yeah.
So I think it has benefited me immensely in that. If you ask people who have worked with me, I've also be very conscious of not doing what directors always make the mistake of doing. Like for example, 片场发脾气, like scolding people or showing a face where you're not happy with the actor's performance. Because I always feel I might be wrong, but I think I'm right. Actors are actually very fragile people.
They are very delicate.
Especially when they're performing, and if you let them have a sense that they're not doing good and you're not happy with it, it just
affects it.
Kind of affects them, and it affects the performance.
Yeah, it does.
you can treat them like shit after the performance, but during the performance, I think you should be able to uphold them for that moment,
Yes.
so that they give their best.
Give their best.
And most importantly is treat everyone with respect.
Absolutely.
And
Totally
none
agree.
of that power trip ego shit. You know, that I hate. Yeah.
In terms of hope, okay, we talked about hope, you know,
Yeah,
something
yeah.
better. Do you think there is hope for Singapore television entertainment?
Yes.
The future of it.
Yes, if we get it right.
How do we get it right, do you think? Other than what we talked about earlier, but yeah, we went through that.
Have the creative people
To push the envelope,
make
right?
the creative choices. And sometimes you really have to lose a lot in order to gain much more. In the sense that don't always look at the bottom line. Sometimes if you want to break into the international market, or if you want to really do something that can grow exponentially, sometimes you have to sacrifice the first period of time, first few projects. Don't say that I'm trying this experimental projects. Oh, it didn't work. Okay, we'll stop trying this thing. We'll go somewhere else. If you're sure of the direction, keep grinding at it. Don't be afraid to sacrifice a little here and there. If we play and we use what Singapore has, that perhaps the rest of the world doesn't have, the content itself will be great. Maybe it's like all of us will say, oh, this thing that I had during my childhood is always the best. Because in our mind it's the best. But if we try something now, it's different. It's not as good.
Yeah.
But I think we can do it. There is hope. I think if there is no hope, what else is there?
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah.
All right, so there you have it. We're gonna leave on a good note in terms of positive hope for everyone in acting, in life, Singapore. Such a pleasure to have with me, the one, the only Tay Ping Hui. Thank you so much, bro.
All right.
Looking forward to seeing you back on the basketball court, if not in front of a camera, to
Okay.
see how the actor gets it done. So once again, this is Call Us Daddy. If you love the show, make sure you like it, share it with your friends, because they all want to see this man right here. And of course, subscribe. Thank you and see you next time. Bye-bye.